You're watching Medfield TV.
Hi, I'm Jason Ebbs, and I'm the lead singer and guitarist of the band Jason Ebbs. I'm a fourth-year student at Northeastern University, and I grew up in the great town of Medfield, Massachusetts. So I first got into music mainly from my parents' music tastes, taking long car rides, and they would play CDs from the White Stripes, the Doors, Steely Dan, classic rock bands. And my uncle also would send me classic rock CDs, Jimi Hendrix, Led Zeppelin, and that really kind of shaped my passion and my music taste. I used to play piano, and I was playing songs like Hot Crust Buns and not rock and roll songs, not songs that I was into. And I was thinking, why aren't I playing Led Zeppelin and Jimi Hendrix songs? So in fourth grade, I asked for a guitar for Christmas, and I got one, lucky enough. And I started taking guitar lessons from a guy named Kevin Shirtliff, who's a fellow Medfieldian. And he was the first person I met who was really passionate about music, because I was so young and all my friends were into sports and stuff like that. But Kevin really showed me that, music is a route that can be pursued. It can be a personality trait. You didn't have to be a varsity athlete to, have a passion. He was really the first person to show me that music could be a part of my identity, and that really inspired me to start pursuing music even more. I started writing music in high school, and I didn't really have any intentions about what to do with the music. I just wanted to have it, listen back to it and say, oh, I made some music. But then when I got to college, the people around me were releasing music and playing shows, and it sounded good. Right around the same time, Johnny Dalton from Medfield as well, who runs Kung Pao Studios, he contacted me. I was very shy at the time and I was kind of hesitant. I put him off for a little bit, but finally I said yes. And we got into the studio and we recorded a song called Stone in the Road. I listened to it back on his speakers with all the fancy studio equipment he has, and I thought to myself, wow, maybe I could, do this. This could be a thing for me. I can record music and it can sound not bad. And that's really where, my writing and recording career began.
Like everyone else, I'm just another stone in the road.
The process of writing a song obviously starts with the writing part. That usually comes from me thinking of a lyric or a line or two just randomly throughout my day and writing it down on my phone. When I started writing music, I was in high school, and I hadn't had a lot of life experience at the time. I was really writing about, I guess, the two things that high schoolers deal with most: house parties and love. And those were the two themes that really just came to me naturally. Like, I would go to a party and make an observation and be like, oh, that might be nice to include into a song. That's a funny thing that happened, something like that. And I guess high school relationships too really, fueled my motivation to write songs, because songwriting for me is kind of like a diary. I could say whatever I wanted, whatever I was thinking or feeling. It felt good to let those things out, especially in musical form. So now that my songwriting has evolved and progressed throughout the years, I find that because more people are listening, I feel more confident, because I'll have people tell me that they relate to some of my songs, and when I'm playing on stage and I see people in the crowd singing the words back to me, I really know that, okay, I'm reaching people and, they feel the same things that I do. Mainly when I'm writing lyrics, It'll just be at a random time in the day. Like, for example, last night when I was driving home, I thought of a single line and I wrote it down on my phone, not while I was driving. And, you know, that's, in the future, I will write a song around that one line. Sometimes it's easier, a single line will pop into my head and then the rest will just come right then and there. And I'll write, you know, whole verses or a whole chorus. Or, you know, thinking of a guitar riff or chord progression that I'll want to record on my phone. I usually don't have a guitar with me at all times, so I'll sing it lazily into my phone and hope I can remember it later on. Like, what was I trying to go for here when I actually have my guitar? When I'm actually trying to fill the rest of the song out, I'll take riffs from my voice memos and lyrics from my notes and see what fits where. Hopefully I'll, you know, come up with something I'm happy with. I'll record a demo, which is basically just a rough musical outline of what I want my song to sound like. And then when that demo is finished, I'll send it to my producer, Johnny Dalton, Kung Pao Studios, and this is to show him, hey, I want to make a song, I want it to sound like this, and we set up a time for me to go into the studio and record the song. A studio session is usually 2 separate days. The first day we'll record guitar, bass, and drums, just because setting everything up takes so long. It's just the 2 of us in the studio. I record all of the instruments myself, with the exception of a few maybe drum parts that I've asked friends to play. But usually I play everything myself because I write all the parts myself, and I feel more comfortable, you know, I know exactly in my head what I want, and just to save time, I'll do it all myself: guitar, bass, drums, keys sometimes, and singing. We save the second day for recording vocals, because usually I'm way too beat by the end of the day of the first day. So vocals on the second day, and then when we've recorded everything that we're happy with, I leave Johnny to mix the song based on his own musical knowledge. I place a lot of trust in him. And then when he has something he likes and he's proud of, he sends the mix to me. We usually go back and forth for a few days saying, this needs to be louder, this guitar needs to be quieter, all that stuff. And then when we finally reached something that we're content with, Johnny masters the song, he sends it to me, I send it to my digital distributors, and they send it out to Spotify and Apple Music and iTunes and, you know, all those. And then people listen to it, hopefully. My favorite part of the recording process, you would think it would be hearing the final product, but it's not. It's usually when we record all of the guitar parts, because that's the first thing we do, is record guitar. We'll record the same part multiple times, pan things to the left, pan things to the right, and just coming back to the speakers and hearing that first, you know, the wall of guitars through, and thinking like, okay, this is gonna be good. That's my favorite part of the process. I started releasing singles in my sophomore year of college, so this was late 2017. In May of 2018, I came out with an EP called Familiar Villains that had 6 songs on it. I was really feeling confident in my writing abilities, so I was writing a lot after that, and I started working on a full-length album. That was called Super Ego, and that came out in June of 2019. So after the release of the first album, I was a little burnt out because I had been writing that album for about a year and working on recording it, and that was really my main focus at the time. When it came out, I just felt kind of lost. I didn't really know what to do. Do I start writing again? Do I play shows? And I really didn't feel like doing either of those because, you know, when I force my songwriting, nothing good comes out of it. I only write songs when it feels natural or when the inspiration strikes. I'll never sit down and be like, okay, it's time to write a song. That doesn't work out for me. When I'm burnt out, I'll either just help out my friends with their music. If someone wants to collaborate on music, I'll help them. Or I'll just go back to playing covers. Like, that's how I started out playing guitar, and that's what really brought me joy in the beginning. So going back to that is kind of a good like a healthy break from creating my own music. Because I love music and I love just doing it all the time, but I'm not gonna force my own music. So I took a big step back. I think we took 2 months off from playing shows. That was really good though, because when we started getting back into it, we were playing shows more consistently than ever. When I went back to school in the fall, I started writing a single called Shaky Knees, and I released that soon after.
Every time I turn around, you're changing your mind again. She said, stop turning around, man, shut up and stay. I don't wanna make heartbreak my religion, but I still pray every day you wanna, but you don't. Why sing the gospel of losers? Why stay in the church of broken hearts? Face down in the fountain, but I'm still down praying on shaky knees.
My style of music I would classify very broadly as alternative rock. Sometimes erring more on the side of, classic rock influenced, but also sometimes it can get a little electronic. It's kind of a mixed bag, but alternative rock is kind of the home base. I've also coined my music as beach rock, just because a lot of my earlier songs, and even some of my newer ones, deal with the ocean and the beach, just because that, growing up, the beach really made me as happy as making music does now. And, I wanted to sing about what makes me happy. So beach rock kind of became a theme for me. A lot of my album covers deal with the beach and the ocean, and I like to incorporate that into my live shows too. My main musical influences have always been classic rock bands, and notably bands with really confident lead singers like Led Zeppelin, The Doors, The Strokes, Cage the Elephant, just because I feel that the energy that a lead singer can bring to a live performance is like just as important as the music being played. So I really try to, incorporate that when we're playing on stage. The band started playing live shows during the summer after the release of the first EP, so back in the summer of 2018. At the time, it was myself singing and playing guitar. On the bass was my producer, Johnny Dalton, and on the drums was his brother, Patrick Dalton. So the lineup of Johnny, Patrick, and myself was the main band lineup up until a few months ago, when our friend Eli Olson from Northeastern joined as a guitarist, and now the four of us is the main lineup of the band. We were asked to play Northeastern's Battle of the Bands, which consisted of 7 or 8 bands, I believe. And we figured we'd play, just to get some practice as a new fully formed band and, just have a good time. We ended up winning the Battle of the Bands. We were kind of surprised, but, we were super happy, and it really added to our confidence in playing as a full unit and really pushed us to want to play more shows. And it was really useful in, reaching a new audience of people who were there to see the other bands too. The main way I reach new audiences is by playing live shows. I think that's like the most important way in attracting new fans, because people who have never heard my music before will be standing in the audience and being like, okay, might check this out later when I get home. Yeah, might put this on in the car when I'm driving down the highway. Perfect. The other main way of reaching new people is word of mouth. Starting out, when I was releasing music, my typical listeners were my closest friends and my family. But luckily, I have really good friends, and they, by their own will, decided to share my music with their friends. I never asked them to. They're just, great friends. And I think the word of mouth and spreading my music has really helped grow my natural audience. Social media has been super useful in, reaching new listeners and keeping the current ones up to date on what's going on, where I'm playing, if I'm working on music, if I'm releasing music. In using social media, it's really crucial to be posting consistently to keep followers up to date, but it's also important to keep that balance between, that and not posting too much so as to not overwhelm or overload followers. I would like to grow musically in, I guess, the audience reach of my music, the number of people who are listening, and I really want to grow as a songwriter. I always am trying to develop my own style and change things up, but sometimes I get in a rut of, okay, I've already written something just like this before. Sometimes I feel like I'm bogged down by my own style, so I guess I really want to see my songwriting abilities and my style evolving. My advice to other musicians would be, make music for yourself and then share it with other people, because it's easy to get into this kind of songwriting route of, okay, what are people going to think of this sound? What are people going to think of this lyric or something like that? And I've found that the best songs that I've written and the ones people like the most are the ones that I haven't been thinking about, okay, people are going to be listening to this. So when I get stuck on that path musically of, worrying too much about what other people are going to think, or, are they going to like this line? Are they going to like this guitar part? I usually just take a big step back from writing that song, leave it aside altogether. And I'll usually either help someone else out with their music, kind of get a distraction from it, or I'll write some music that's completely different from what's considered my own style. And that's how I really cement in my mind that I'm really just doing this for the enjoyment of it. You can listen to my music online on Spotify, YouTube, Apple Music, iTunes, Amazon Music, SoundCloud, wherever you can find music by searching Jason Ebbs.
See, I've been pegged as a regular guy. I put my pants on one leg at a time. I mess up, I move on. And God only knows that I'm a good-willed person with a heart of silver.
You can follow me on Instagram at Jason Ebbs, or you can like my Facebook page, Jason Ebbs. I'm gonna be making music for the rest of my life, no matter, what my career is, what my job is. I'm gonna be playing music, hopefully recording and playing shows, but playing music is the definite. Thanks for watching Medfield TV.